Welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
That's what John Oliver says every time.
I love John Oliver. He's pretty
stuff. Cool. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode, another thrilling, insightful, and dare I say, mysterious episode.
Hopefully it's enlightening, too.
An enlightening episode of the Ace Q&A, where Todd Coleman, creative director of Crowfall, and
Thomas Blair, design director of Crowfall,
answer your questions pulled from the forums about Crowfall, how it's going, where it's going, and what the heck we're doing. So,
and I always have to show the card, because we've been doing this for
a long
5
time.
years.
It's a long time now.
I have a lot of cards on my desk,
Yep.
and we will continue to do that to show that.
Yep. Okay, so we have some great questions coming this time.
We have a lot of questions. We have a bunch of updates to give on the current campaigns.
We do. I'll give some of the quick updates on the front end because I'm getting a spam call. Spammer.
Robocaller.
You know, if you know it's a scam, don't even bother me. If you think it's likely, I'm willing to bet that it's a scam. Anyway, so I looked through the questions this time, and they're mostly Blair questions. I did notice that.
Everybody loves those questions.
A whole bunch of the questions are like, let's talk about this specific thing.
Let's hold Blair's feet to the fire for a decision he made or was forced to make based on by Todd.
Absolutely. No question. You should absolutely hold his feet to the fire. But the downside of that is that, unfortunately for you guys, I don't have the answers. You're going to have to listen to this guy give the answers.
But we got some updates first.
Whatever. All right, so what do we got? What do we got first?
So the first thing we got is an update on the current campaign.
Okay, yep, so we just started the Trial of Cain. So
Correct.
I got a lot of questions and pushbacks on this one at the beginning because it was a very short campaign. And there was actually a very, very good reason that it had to be a short one. And my response was to the people saying, it's not really worth it. You guys have a wipe coming. We're just going to bow out. My response was, yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea to take a break every now and then. Because the other option that we had was to have a 3-week campaign.
Right.
But that would have caused issues. So what's coming down the pipe, Mr. Blair, that would have caused issues?
Well, in 5.8.6...
The next version coming out.
We have a wipe.
Right, and that version was just not ready yet.
And it wasn't ready to go. It was close, but not quite there.
Yep.
We needed to start the campaign, and we have the wipe coming, so that's going to focus a lot of things.
And that's coming literally in the next week, right?
We are trying to do pencils down today on that branch.
Right.
So pencils down for us means it goes into the final baking process. Developers stop putting stuff in there because every time you put something in, odds of it exploding and breaking something is very high, right, as we all know. So we kind of let it kind of cook there for a couple days, and then we'll push it out sometime next week.
Okay, and so what is it? I know the answer, but I'm going to feed you the questions anyway. What is it that's coming in this new version that is requiring us to do a wipe?
So we have updated the way that we deal with armor.
Yes, thankfully, finally.
The way we craft armor. So Todd's been grilling me on this one for, about a year and a half.
It's probably been a year. I never liked the fact that our armor gave you plus to max hit points. I just thought that was weird.
Yes, so we should show what the new armor looks like. Okay, so here's an example of a new piece of armor, and you can tell we've slimmed down everything in the tooltip. There's one armor number now, and there is no health on it.
Okay, so let's talk about that one armor number. So what was the purpose of that? Is it actually changing a bunch of stuff, or is it just information?
It's just information, and it's one stop, easy. You look at it, and you're like, oh, this one's better than this one.
So it's like AC in the old D&D
correct,
days.
basically.
Got it.
The more of it, you want as much of it as you can get, and it will do the same thing it used to do, which is mitigate damage.
Okay.
Right.
Which I prefer way over maximum health. Damage
Right.
reduction and or damage resistance. Either
So
one,
prior-
I think are better than health addition, max health.
The health was in the off pieces too.
Yeah, I didn't like any of it.
Right. So now there's
Didn't like
armor
any
in all 4 pieces.
Okay.
So we might see a game again of, hey, I'm going to wear a little bit of leather and I'm going to wear a little bit of plate.
Right. Yep. I in general, and we haven't done all of this, but I'd like to open up the armor selections in general a little more than we have. Right. Is I like there was, and I drove this. I drove the whole. We should have more specialized armor. But now that I'm in and playing, I'm like, it just doesn't lead to enough choice for a lot of the characters. So I kind of want to open it back up. Part of that was normalizing armor and communicating better what armor does, right? Okay, so the other side of that, though, was all that max health that I told you to pull off the armor. What happened to that? Where did that go?
People have been playing with those current health values, so we sucked all of that health value out. We divvied it up into little pieces as we are wont to do. Some of it comes from leveling your character. So every time you level up, you will see a bump in your max health.
Okay, that's nice.
And the con stat, the constitution stat. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
you mean the dump stat? That was
Attribution.
Constitution? That
Yes.
nobody cared about because it was worthless?
Yes. So now it gives you 8 points of health per point.
So now it's entirely overpowered, and it's the only stat that matters.
So what we had to do was we had to bump the dex stat, so crit and attack power also goes up. So they're basically they're equivalent. Mm-hmm. We're trying to make them equivalent. It's hard as shit.
Yeah, I'm with you. But
Right.
it is better. So a lot of that health that was previously on the armors has been moved over to con, so that now when you increase your con stat, it's a noticeable
Right.
increase. What is it, +8 per?
It's +8 right now. Again,
Yeah.
we're at the minor tweaking phase. We had a big tweak where we tried it with like, hey, let's just take all the level up stuff, and it was just too much.
Okay.
So again, we tweaked back to where we are right now.
With you. I love the new direction, though. I think it's much better. It's better for armor and it's better for con. You never want to have one stat that's just a dump stat.
Right.
Now, it's not uncommon that for a given class, you'll have one stat or two stats as a dump stat. That's kind of normal for games. But anytime you have a situation where for every class, this one's the dump stat, that's a problem.
Right.
So.
And one of the pieces you may have missed was we doubled the amount of max support power a healer can have,
Okay.
the healer classes. So what that means is their heals will also start doing more damage. So when you look at the entirety of combat now, there's a couple new moving parts in there.
Yeah.
Healers will be healing for a bit more. Class or specific classes that had a lot of health before may have less if they didn't put some into con, right? So the knobs have just been tweaked.
Well, it sounds like a terrible solution unless you also did something to crafting. Did you do anything with crafting of armors? This is your only chance to save everything you just told me.
Yes, absolutely.
You did?
Yes.
Did you make it more clicks and more steps?
We actually reduced the amount of clicks.
All
and
right,
steps.
okay,
Look at
I'm
that.
back. I'm
You're
back in.
You're
Yep,
back?
I'm back in.
So before I cut out 9 of the clicks and steps
That's cool.
per piece of armor. Unfortunately, as we found, so we put a lot of optional stuff in because optional stuff is fun. Mm-hmm. But for the players, it became required stuff. So it wasn't optional, which meant that all those layers that we used to have in there to kind of boost the mitigation value, they all did all of them all of the time.
Yeah.
Which was just, without factories or whatever, it was a lot of clicks. So by cutting out 9 of those items, great. Shields also saw an update too. I think we have a picture of a new shield.
Oh, do we? Good.
Yes, because Todd was also writing me about shields.
Well, I didn't like the way shields were handled.
And now
And
you
I'm
look
not
at
sure that I do now, but I know I didn't before.
now it has armor.
what you got?
You'll notice it has armor just like the
Okay,
piece of armor you saw before.
That's a good one. Because
Right.
at one point it was just like a offhanded weapon, effectively.
Correct,
Right?
because we really didn't have the ability to put armor in the offhand.
Okay.
So we got some little tweaks to make it more like it's a piece of armor and it's
Potentially a weapon.
and it potentially has
yeah,
stats, and
yeah.
you need it to activate like the knights, some of their powers.
Yeah,
right.
shield
So
slam.
those are much better as well.
Okay.
And additionally, so we're going to show that stuff now is along with all this crafting stuff, we got some cool pieces that just kind of came along with fixing some of the armor stuff.
Okay.
Which is we now have the ability to have additive slots on a piece of armor, and we can hide it from the player unless they have a piece of gear.
Oh, I
equipped.
saw that. That was really, really cool, actually. So now I have to have a particular type of blacksmith hammer to open up the ability to do this additive on this item.
This has actually been so much fun for me.
Okay.
Right, this particular part where, and it's also one of the things that is very unique to Crowfall's crafting now, which is nobody else dynamically adds and removes ingredient slots. You get a recipe, and the recipe is fixed. And that recipe to make that thing is always that thing. We're actually now able to give you loot objects that you can find in the world.
Yep.
And those things will add more slots on the fly to your recipes.
Given them mostly through war tribes?
Right now, yes, War Tribes is our
And
current.
collection, I guess. We'll add more
Correct.
plants and stuff like that.
Here's what a normal player's recipe looks like.
Okay.
Everybody gets this one, they open it, and then all of a sudden you're adventuring the world, you're killing war tribes, you get a cool blue drop, which happens to be, in this case, the Emerald Tablet, and you equip the Emerald Tablet. Here's a slot where you would equip that.
Okay.
It goes in your belt accessory slot. There is those 2 slots that you can see in there that got added, the little plus ones. So when you equip the object, it goes ahead and it puts those 2 little slots there.
That's
those
pretty
2 added
cool.
slots. And these objects are also limited use. So every time you craft
They're
one,
charged, right?
it will reduce the count by 1. So what's great about this from a design standpoint is we've now created another game loop.
Yeah. that's
Which is
cool.
literally the combatants are out there.
It's another feedback loop, right, between combatants and
Exactly.
and
They're out there,
right,
they're killing
absolutely.
stuff. They get these loot objects, they come back, they sell them to the crafters. The crafters use those objects to make better stuff to sell to the combatants, which the combatants go out to get more money.
Cool.
And it just creates this nice loop between the crafters and the combatants.
Cool.
Which is great, and I love where we've gone with this direction. And I think, again, it's one of the unique things that we do on Crowfall is adding of those slots dynamically. And you'll see a lot of new content in the next update about that.
Cool.
Okay.
Love it. And the new temple. So we showed
Yes,
the new temple off a little bit 2 days ago when Melissa was in this chair.
Yep.
We showed off the new temple. The temple is interesting also because we actually are doing 2 versions of it, right? We're doing a pristine one that we'll be able to use in the God's Reach, and then we're doing a destroyed version where it's all smashed and there's rubble everywhere and stuff like that we'll be able to use in the campaign worlds. And that'll be nice because it means that you'll never have confusion. When you log in, you'll be like, oh, yep, I'm in the campaign world. It's pretty obvious. So, which is pretty cool. I'd love to I mean, we have like vines that are growing over things and stuff like that. So I'd love to continue to push on that over time. Like in an ideal world, I would have the Sun Temple look a little different than the Earth Temple. And we are going to do some of that, like banners and things like that. But I'd love to, like the Sun Temple would be kind of cool if it looked scorched. The Moon Temple would be kind of cool if it looked either barren or icy. The Earth Temple is covered in vines, stuff like that. So we're definitely moving in that direction. I think we're going to have Mr. John O'Neill come and do a follow-up live stream where he gets to show off all of that pretty art that he and his team have cooked up. So I don't know when that's going to happen, but I think we're going to do it.
It's funny that the temple is creating new problems for us in the power system, by the way, as well.
Is it?
Yes,
I did not know that.
The Ganesian burrow power, because we're talking about making it so you can only use it on dirt terrain.
Oh, okay.
Right, because the original intent of that power was that you used it to bypass walls in the middle of a siege. And what's funny is engineering has come back and been like, well, what happens when they pop into a house? Like does they pop up? Do they go left or right?
Yeah.
And some of the rules that we have also have those big environmental rocks. And in the temple specifically, the entire floor is made of stone.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, well, what happens when they use it on stone and all these crazy angles because they're heights?
All right, we're just going to cut it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ganesians.
Sorry. No, we're actually going to make it cool.
We have a couple questions we can throw in right now before we move on.
Everyone, Debbie Sue. The role of Pan for today's performance will be played by Debbie Sue.
No, you're supposed to look up there. Remember?
Yes, that's right. Oh, Debbie Sue is above us.
Actually, she's on this camera. They can't see us at all.
No, I'm supposed to be looking down on you.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, you're supposed to be looking right there.
Always looking down
on
us.
All right, they're back to us.
Okay, what you got?
So the question was, now that you're giving us so many more things to loot and store, what's the status on getting more storage?
Oh, God, I'm going to do that.
I love it. Come on, tell us, Todd. What are we going to do about inventory?
Okay, so we're going to fix it. It's a technical limitation is the problem. That's actually the issue, is it just has to do with, right now, all of that stuff is stored in the player record, which means the player record gets really, really, really big. And if it gets big enough, it can cause horrible problems. We're moving that stuff. We basically have a refactor going right now in our persistence system, which is going to open up that and make it not a problem anymore. It's a large system, and we're also at the same time prepping it to be ready for real scale at launch. Mm-hmm. So it's a large undertaking as well.
Well, let's just talk about some of the numbers.
Okay.
Right? Because it seems more daunting when you're actually like, okay, so if a character can have 300 slots, what does that mean if we have 1,000 characters for database storage?
Right.
What does that mean if we have 10,000 characters for database storage? What does it mean if we have 100,000 characters for database storage?
It's actually worse than that for us because we have people can draw in our game can drop parcels of land.
Correct.
Right? So I can actually drop a village somewhere, and that means that I can also pick up a parcel of land. I could pick up a village, and in that village there could be 50 buildings, and in each of those buildings there could be a vendor, and on each of those vendors there could be an entire plethora of items for sale, one of which could be a parcel. A village parcel, which could have its own set of buildings and its own vendors and its own... So you see where this is going. It becomes very, very quickly a problem. So we're going to have to put in some hard walls as well. Like, we can't just have somebody recursively having...
It's a ship in a bottle is what it is, with a ship in a bottle.
So we can't have that. But on top of that, we have to have some limits. Now, the limits that we have in place right now are draconian.
Yes,
like, they
absolutely.
are harsh limits. I get it. We're trying to figure out some coping mechanisms to help you guys deal with this in the meantime. Just in this last build, I went to Mr. Blair and I said, okay, I know the banking thing sucks so bad. Can we just up the stack counts for ore and stone and wood? Just for those three.
Yep.
Give me 200. Give me 500. What can you give me? And we went and looked at it, and the answer was we couldn't change that because it was unfortunately just that that the design tables had already moved on to a point where there was no way to go back and fix that.
That was in 5.8.5.
In 5.8.5 because the tables had already been updated for all the armor
Yep.
changes, which were not supported in 5.8.5. So the answer was, no, I can't even do that, Todd. I can't even increase stack count. So I don't have a good solution for you, but I do know that it sucks.
Well, in
And we're
5.8.6, we have
trying-
doubled it.
Oh, you have? Okay,
In
good.
5.8.6, which is on test right now.
Okay.
The stack count is up to 200.
Okay, so I mean, it's still not nearly enough, but I'm also a little nervous to we could ramp it up to 1,000 or 5,000, but then when we inevitably have to settle it back down to where it's actually
once we
gonna
solve
be,
the tech problem.
then everybody's going to be really, really angry and pissed. So
Right.
it's always we try to do the best we can. The game is still in pre-alpha. I'm sorry, we're trying to get persistence done. When we get it done, we will fix the storage issue. I know that it's a big problem, and we'll get it fixed.
I love pain points like this, though.
You do?
Yeah,
because you hate fun.
No,
right?
because it shows us exactly where the burning is right
no,
now.
that's true. Yeah.
Right? So the burning that we suffer right now, prioritize it for us and it bumps it to the top.
Yeah,
We're like,
that's absolutely true.
We have to fix that issue now because it's going to suck. And I'm sorry for you guys who are dealing with it right now, but it will get better for the future.
It will. And in the meantime, we'll try coping mechanics where we can to try and make things
Yep.
go a little bit easier.
Okay, another question on leather.
What did they think of that first answer? Did they hate it? I bet they hated it. I kind of hate it, so I don't blame them.
They definitely want more storage.
Okay,
I'm gonna leave it there.
I hear you loud and clear.
Not enough, all in caps.
Not enough.
Not
I love
enough.
that.
Yeah, not enough.
So another question is, why does leather take more resources than mail and plate? And why can't it be more equivalent? And it's also harder to farm.
Well, the process of curing leather. No, I don't have any idea.
No.
There. Why does it take
Right?
more?
It's actually very equivalent now.
Okay.
And
with the recent round of changes.
With the recent rounds of changes, it's much more equivalent. And we always see it as a little easier to farm the leather because you're out there killing those NPCs anyways.
Okay.
Right? The leather is just something you get in it's a bonus. For kill, you get XP, you get loot, and you also get this big giant stack of leather.
Okay.
Right?
I kind of hear what you're saying, but I also kind of think the rock that I'm banging on doesn't fight back. So I don't know that I would say it's necessarily easier.
Yeah.
I'm with you on you can get it at the same time, so
Right.
you can parallelize.
Basically, you're
you
doing
can
multiple.
parallelize.
You're
That
doing
makes sense.
advancement at multiple times.
So one thing that we've talked about a lot and we've never actually done, but I want to do, is mother loads for leather,
Yeah.
right, and for meat, which is basically a POI that is a large dragon carcass or
Right.
something like that. That is actually something you can fight over, almost in the same way that a quarry produces stone
Yep.
or whatever. I do think that would be pretty cool.
I do as well. It's
So-
just we need some time to play with that kind
Yep.
of thing. Right? That's on my kind of board is like, hey, let's do this fun thing when we get some time.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
And there was another question there is why can't it be as good? Well, leather is actually really good. It gives you
It is now. They're all much more normalized.
correct.
now.
Leather got bumped up a little bit on its base, but since it has built-in damage and healing bonuses, that's the kind of trade-off that can be made for armor.
Yeah.
Right, between the plate and leather. We've always struggled with, should we penalize them like they move slower or whatever? And we found that every time we do that, it's gone across like a bag of bricks.
Well, actually, so let me bring this up too. This was I know this is in our list of questions here, but another change happened in crafting with whites, and so I think that's one that probably will be very well received.
Oh yeah, that's one of our questions. But yeah, we bumped them
Let's
up
jump to it now.
from 4 pips
We
to
got
5
there
pips
organically.
Yep.
Okay.
We just made it there. So crafting now for poor is still 4 pips, common is 5 pips, and then green is up to 7 pips.
Okay.
So we're kind of bumping up the common quality a little bit, but not so much that the higher qualities feel marginalized.
No, it's really we were closing the gap a bit. I think
Basically.
that's a better way to say it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
There you go. Any more questions,
Get that
WC?
one too. Any other live questions you want to ask, or should we jump into our pre-baked questions that we
I guess there's one question you might want to hit, which is, do you think you're going too hardcore for your average Joe players?
So I want to answer that quickly, which is yeah. I think that's the intent, is to the average Joe player, somebody who's like, all I play is Diablo. We always will likely be too hardcore for that player, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we are kind of a hardcore game. Now, I'm trying to blend it a little bit and make it more approachable for people that maybe they don't want to just get dumped into the deep end of the pool with the sharks immediately. By the way, sharks hang out in swim pools now. Did you know that? It's terrifying. Started in Florida recently.
What?
Yeah, it's horrible. So anyway, we don't want to dump them into the deep end of the pool with the sharks where they don't know how to play the game. So that's why I wanted to pull God's Reach out and make it a place that people could actually learn how to play our game But at the end of the day, like we do have. I mean, it's a PvP game, right? It's a territory conquest game,
Right.
and it is a player-driven economy. And those things are not like as casual as a average Joe gamer is going to appreciate. So it's a, that's the thing. That's just the way we are. I'm not going to apologize for it. That's the game we set out to build.
Right.
So
I mean, we came up with these pillars at the beginning.
yeah,
and
that's it. That's our game.
We're
So-
actually trying to hit them and not just use them as kind of like
Absolutely.
buzzwords.
So
Like
where I think it's going to be a problem to the point where it actually means the product might not work, right? Like the new player experience, I'm going to fix that because I've got to. At the end of the day, if I build a game that's only for the hardest or the hardcore, and as a result we end up with a really tiny following who may love us, but we can't sustain the game going on, that's not good either, obviously. I've got to at least open it up enough to be able to get a critical mass of players. But, the idea that like we're going to go after the WoW market or something like that, we're not going to. So I'm sorry, that's not. Thank you for checking out the game. That's not us. So.
And it's
But
also
what we are going to
good-
do, we're going to do really well. That's been my promise from day one, and I still
It's
intend
good
to live up to
mention
that.
God's Reach because I think that's the opportunity to get your feet wet, get acclimated, learn some of the systems, and also I've seen people posting about joining guilds.
Yeah,
So that's
no,
another
absolutely.
great
So,
way to get
I mean,
introduced.
it's not that our game can't be played solo. It absolutely can. It can't. It's not that our game can't be played by somebody who doesn't want to go into the PvP areas. It absolutely can. But there's a layer of complexity and immersion that I want to kind of instill into our game experience, and that's inherently something about that is less casual. It just kind of is. But you have to kind of pick one. Do you want that deep depth and immersion, or do you not? And I do. So if we have to give a little bit on the casual, or even a lot on the casual, I'm okay with that. I mean, that's the game we're making.
Some people are saying stick to the vision.
There you go.
There you go.
That's right.
okay, want to do some of the questions?
Yeah, let's do that. Was that all the live questions? You want us to
Ooh.
jump over to some of the others? These now we're going to be Blair Central because some of these I'm just going to say I don't know. Here, let me read them. That way you can answer and it won't just
Okay.
seem like I'm sitting here.
Well, you could also insert some little humor. Also,
Insert some little humor.
what's
That's
up with
what
sharks
I'm-
and pools?
That's what I'm here
That
for.
is the one death that you can avoid on this planet. You can absolutely avoid getting eaten by a shark, and now they're in swimming pools in Florida.
Yeah, I've heard that. No,
Is that an O'Neill telling you that truth?
No, this is just another one of those bad Todd analogies where I start off really cooking on one analogy and I decide midway through I don't like it. So without actually resetting, I just bring the new analogy smashing into it.
All right.
I do that all the time.
Okay.
I'm like, and you're cooking along, I'm following you. How did we get here? So
Because if you don't want to get eaten by a shark, you can stay out of the ocean. That is
That's right.
that is your recourse.
that's right.
All right, let's get some
Okay,
questions.
so, that's not the only one, Blair.
It's
If I don't want to die of a heroin overdose, I could not take heroin. There's a lot of things I think you could say that fall into that general category, mostly.
But if you go to a hospital or something, you might get a dose of heroin.
Well, I might take a dip in a swimming pool and get eaten by a shark. It's a thing. It happens in Florida. Okay, question number 1. Total reroll cost stat on jewelry is not currently working to decrease the cost of dust or embers in doing total rerolls.
Yep.
It's a little crunchy.
Yeah.
When you get it working, not if, but when, this is not me talking, this
Yeah,
is the
when.
person who wrote this. Will this be a straight percentage reduction in cost, i.e. 20% total reroll cost reduction? Would cause an epic reroll to drop from 5 embers per reroll to 4, and a legendary from 10 to 8.
It's a pretty crunchy question. So
It is a very crunchy question. Hi, if you're just joining us, we're from Crowfall. We're a massively multiplayer game with some crunchy answers.
with some
What you
crunch.
got?
All right. So what this is do you know what a reroll is?
Yeah?
All right. So at the end of an experimentation phase of crafting, there's an option at the very bottom there. You can take a small reroll or a large reroll.
Okay.
Large reroll basically takes all of the rolls that you had for all your pips, and does them all over again.
Okay.
At the cost of Chaos Embers, which is our premium loot drop right now. Right. Whenever you harvest an ethereal dust in the world, there is a 1 in 100 chance that it will be a Chaos Ember.
Okay.
And what are Chaos Embers?
They are the most important thing in the world?
It's lore that you invented.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm sorry. I thought you were actually
Oh,
trying
no.
to get me
I
to
know
continue
what they are.
feeding me.
No.
Yes, no, I know what they are in terms of the lore. Yeah, in terms of your systems, I don't know. I don't know how often they drop. Or
Well,
any of that
you
kind
could
of stuff.
explain to us,
But
but-
yeah, so when Valken ripped the heart out of the dragon, he basically hung it in the sky.
Yep.
And all of the little
Too awful.
bleeding bits of flaming blood that
sad.
trickled down became Chaos Embers. Right?
Correct.
And then the other one is the dust, right? Which is when which was actually parts of the dragon egg that was hung in the other end of the sky, in the other side of the hemisphere. When Cain was at his forge, he struck something too hard, and it kind of reverberated the entire moon and caused it to shatter. And that is what caused the dust particles, which are order, to spread out across.
And there's your ethereal dust and your chaos ember lore for you, ladies and gentlemen.
Correct.
So
now it does raise the question: when he shattered that dragon egg, did anything else come out at the bottom? And that is an excellent question.
You know what? If I need another thing, I can use that.
So anyway, back to your crunchy reroll
Yes.
thing. I got to be honest. You asked me a question. I wasn't really listening
Oh.
to your answer because I don't care about your reroll stuff. Blair.
Players really love it.
I know. So answer it for them.
Okay.
And please make the system not suck because I hear about it when your system is bad.
Absolutely. It's a percentage. There you go.
What's for it's a percentage?
All of that. It is a it will
All
be a
right.
percentage reduction.
All right, so speaking of bad calls that Blair made in the math, let's talk about the loot drop rates for runestones.
Okay, yeah, that is a great, because that goes back to one of the Crowfall pillars, which we've always talked about: risk versus reward.
Yep,
always.
we have.
It has been a pillar of the project, which is if you go to a dangerous spot, you can be expected to be rewarded with better quality stuff,
Or to die.
But that is the risk. We have followed that all the way through with our loot drops on the war tribes, such that if you fight a rank 5 war tribe, it's not going to have as good stuff as a rank 10 war tribe.
Right.
And it will be far easier to do that.
Okay, so if I hear what you're saying, and I can make it shorter and understandable, is that people are currently judging the loot drops based on God's Reach, which we told you was going to have crappy loot. Right. Like that's one of the things we said is, hey, it's going to have crappy loot, and it's just going to get worse because I haven't really had a chance to go back and ratchet it down yet.
Correct.
But now they're like, hey, we do definitely agree that God's Reach should have crappy loot. But why is the loot so crappy in this area? Will it be better in the campaign worlds?
Yeah, because the ranks of the parcels will be higher.
That sounds great. Will it be good enough in the campaign worlds?
That remains to be seen.
I agree with that.
Right.
My guess is no.
Probably not.
Probably not.
We never
That's
get
okay.
we always require some tuning. But I think that fundamental, hey, I'm in a rank 5 thing, I'm not going to get really good stuff, or it's going to be so rare.
It falls into that risk reward vision. You're
Yep.
exactly right. I mean that was the point. So now that said, it also is the kind of thing that's going to have to scale up as the user base scales up.
Correct.
Right? That's the other thing is right now we have people that are like, well, I'm calculating out the percentage respawn rate, and that means that only X number of these can drop in a day.
Yep.
Yeah, you're probably right, but that is a really, really tough thing to do an analysis on right now, just because, reasons, right?
Right.
We have one server, one Godreach server up. We have very few war tribes. We have, I guess now we do have some higher ranked war tribes. They came up yesterday in Trial of Cain for the first time.
Yes, and you're going to see more. And then currently the loot tables are a little jammed up because we only have a handful of war tribes.
That's true. Yeah,
right.
that's
so
absolutely true.
We're going to start, as we start to get more war tribes, you are going to know to go farm Iroquois if you want this.
And the first round of war tribes that went out are just the 2x2 war tribes, right?
The 1x...
Or the 1x2 war tribes.
Yeah, so the 1x2s.
Meaning a 2x1 parcel, the 2 cells by one, 2 cells total,
Yep.
right next to each other, parcel. The actual war tribes are procedural, so it will basically, just like it does roads right now, or just like it does canyons, it's going to fill out and make those things procedural, which means that the number of overall spawners will go up.
Correct.
And we've got a whole bunch of stuff. This is really like War Tribes version 1 that just went online. I'm glad it did. I think it already had a great impact on the game.
Yeah.
And really the thing we wanted to do was get it up. So like always, we can get in and try it, and then that can inform us on the whole next round of what we want to build. Otherwise, if we just try and jump to the end, then we don't find those mistakes early on, and it's too late to fix it. So
All about meaningful iterations.
That's right.
That's what it's all about, is how many iterations we can get in front of you guys before we actually have to kick it out the door.
Okay, so what are you doing right now with the majors? So the miners, the
miners are from the war tribes.
There's still some on the vendors.
Correct.
Yes?
There's some learning ones on the vendors.
Okay.
Right, because we want to teach people who, like, what the hell are disciplines?
So we decided to leave those swappable. You can swap those.
You can swap the
out.
miners and you can swap the explorations.
Okay.
Those are on vendors right now. The miners come exclusively from the war tribes.
Okay.
You have a better chance the higher the rank of the parcel, as well as if it's a lieutenant or a chieftain or whatever, they have an increased chance to drop the miners. That's also where those fun chase items is what I like to call them, the crafting ones come from. And then the majors have been migrated to the night spawn versions of the NPCs in the world.
Oh, there's some information for you guys probably didn't know yet. So
Correct. So
they've moved to the Hunger Monsters.
Basically the Hunger Monsters, and
Are they going to stay there?
No.
Okay.
Eventually they will go into the Thralls, which will also only spawn at nighttime. Okay. So I think we're going to get some good data out of this. Just basically, how many of these things do we need to put into the world?
Okay.
And all of that. However, there you have it.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, next question. Why do you hate Stoneborn and Half-Elves so much?
We love the Stoneborn and the Half-Elves.
Really? Yeah, doesn't seem like it.
Stoneborn actually get the highest con now in the new system.
Okay.
So
so they'll get a big.
They should get a big buff. Yeah. The Half-Elves, they need a little bit of love in. It's just that the passive stuff doesn't sell as well. I think it's not as blingy as some of the other things that we have in there. And the Half-Elves need a little thing. I really didn't want to do it now. It's on my board to reevaluate all of the racial stuff.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. But it does. I mean, while other things are in flux. For example, the new client controller is currently being tested. Right, it's making its way through the development pipeline. That will change things like movement speed and dodge and things like that.
Yes.
So right now, for example, centaurs can go hop, hop, hop crazy. I told people don't bother to fix it, and the reason is, anytime we spend right now fixing that is going to be wasted effort because the new client controller is coming online. We're going to have to go back and fix it again anyway.
Yep.
So as I told somebody recently when they asked, I said, well, enjoy it while you can. Yeah, it's a little broken right now. It won't be forever, but it's not worth fixing. So
anyways, the sum of that one, we definitely will make another race pass going forward.
What's up with Frostweaver? Why do you hate Frostweaver?
Why do I hate Frostweaver? I love the Frostweaver.
We're actually going to be overpowered when you finally get it done, right?
It is. We have the tech in the next milestone being worked on.
Okay.
Design has the powers stubbed out. We're waiting for the tech to push them forward.
How are we doing on art?
The art is complete for all of the stuff that you don't know about that the Frostweaver is getting related to art, which was extensive. It was 3x any of the other characters we made. Yeah. So they have a lot more art, and I'm not talking about effects.
Cool.
So there's their hint. So it is in the pipe, and there you go.
There we go. All right.
There was a question while you're on things that are coming.
Yeah.
Thief and Scout, are those coming?
Thief and Scout.
So Thief is specifically pickpocketing, which you know that I'm a fan of, and I want to get to
I'm a huge fan of it. Remember, right. I made one on a stream one time.
You did, I know, and they keep bringing it up. So I still want that. And the other one is Scouting, and Scouting I have ideas for. It's just time, guys. I mean, it's just ultimately you have to get all of the major pieces in before we can go and start adding all the specialty stuff. And so, yes, I do intend to get to them. We just haven't gotten to them yet. Speaking of Scouting and Thiefing and Spying, though, we do have a change coming to the /who command. Did that go out yet?
I thought it went out in 5.8.5.
If it didn't go out yet, it's probably on test right now, but we moved the /who over to be an admin command because it was not intended to be used as a spying tool.
Correct.
Certainly not by friendly alt accounts.
Yeah, so we're not too keen on that, and we have plans for other things in the future.
Yeah, no, we've got some other stuff that we're looking at. Well, there's a whole recut of Death and Respawn that's coming in 590, right?
Yes.
We got a whole lot of, and I'm hoping it's the last one. That's my expectation.
Please let this be the last Death and Respawn.
And then what was the other? Oh, and then Arrival through a rune gate. We're going to address that problem as well because it's a choke point problem.
That's the one that I was alluding to. Yeah.
Every game that has rune gates or any kind of stargates or whatever, they seem to have these kind of problems, and so we need to deal with that.
We are not unique in that.
Nope.
We are not unique in that, and there's something we need to deal with.
So
okay.
All right. That's
we talked about those two. Yep.
All right.
Hunger shard farming. Hunger shard farming continues to be a significant bottleneck on high-end weapons. Are you satisfied with the current scarcity of weapon shards? If not, what are your current plans in making them more available? Yes, I'm actually pretty happy with the way that those came out.
Okay.
In 5.8.5, I did a full pass on that, the loot drops. I added some more stats into the skill trees, so you can actually rank up to get 8%. And I believe there is a discipline as well now that also gives you another 5% chance to get the loot drop. And the reason they want these is because it makes their weapons better.
Yeah, sure.
And in fact, now there is the rare, ultra rare, I want to call it. When you're harvesting a hunger shard, you have a chance to get one of those tools that allows you to put the hunger shards in weapons. So one, it's the hammer of the High Forge, and the other one is the some type of scraper of the wood
That you
elf.
can't remember.
Right. There's so many names.
Scraper of the wood elf.
Scraper of the wood elves. They scrape the wood.
All right.
It's not that. It's something else. But no, somebody was laughing at my desk yesterday because I was like, yeah, just go get the 186 simple steps for creating objects of power. And they're like, that's not a thing. I said, that's totally a thing. Haven't you looked at the new loot? It's so funny.
You guys are crazy. Okay, here's one that we got to hit before we're out.
All right.
Elementalist. Totally OP. So broken. What are you going to do with it?
So right now, I mean, Mark and I talk about this honestly on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Right. We're just kind of, do we want the hard counters? Do we not want the hard counters?
Generally, the approach I seem to see from the community is no. We don't want hard. We want soft.
So one of the things we want to see first, however, is the byproducts of the wipe on 586,
Okay.
as well as all of the new methods to get disciplines. One of the things that we definitely know there's a problem with is people are able to hot swap.
Yeah.
Basically, you can change disciplines at will.
Yeah. Majors.
Right?
You mean.
Majors, even, which is, I can see that I'm going to fight these kind of guys in the distance. Let me load out the counters to those guys.
Okay.
And that is vastly different than saying, I'm going to make a knight who's good at
Fighting
countering.
confessors or whatever.
And you're stuck with that.
Yeah, but Elementalist specifically is too many of the damage types, right? That's the problem with that one, is it's not just single hard counter, it's bunch of hard counters, correct?
And we have, with Scarecrow, for example, where you stop piercing, you basically lock out assassins as well as rangers who use piercing arrows,
Okay.
right? So we have a lot of these hard counters. And again, Mark's biggest thing is that you can do it on the fly now.
Yeah, so we'll definitely, I think we should fix that. But I think it would also be, so this was a suggestion, I don't know if I talked to you about it, but I thought it was a pretty good one, which was allowing us to have crafting components that produce the same type of item, but they change or modify the damage type, which would be kind of cool. Like a fire sword that actually does fire damage.
Sure, yeah.
Which would be pretty neat, especially if we tied that into your system where it was charged, where you can't just make them infinitely, right?
Sure.
You have to-
I have a prototype of a couple of those.
I think that would actually be really cool.
I never pushed it also because of the effect support.
Yeah.
Because then
Well,
at that
there's
point,
that's true.
right, it's like, hell, hey, that, because it was a cleric hammer that did electricity damage.
But I can promise you that there are a section of the people even watching right now and the people who watch this in the future that are going to say, I don't give a shit how it looks. I think that sounds cool. Please do it. And you
Yeah.
can add the effect later. And that's a valid point. Person who I just invented, you made a very valid point.
Your straw man who you just invented?
Yes.
He's cheering
No,
you
but
on right now.
He is.
He's
And
in fact cheering.
I think if Debbie Sue looks at the chat, I think that we'll find that person does actually exist.
Yeah.
So, okay. So there you go. There's some Elementalist stuff. I don't like any of those. Those are crappy questions.
What else we
got? Oh, storage.
Storage.
We already talked about. I don't know what that.
Oh,
one
you know
is.
what? Let's talk about the bow and quiver one because
Okay.
I get this one on a daily basis, which is, can you please explain bow and quiver damage combination?
Sure.
Right.
No, I mean I can't, but you can for
And
sure.
well, I put the formula right here.
Okay.
That is literally the code from the game, which is it literally takes the weapon damage of your bow and the
Okay.
ammo damage of your bow and or quiver. Oh, hey, look, we got a picture of some rangers up there, and it adds them together, and then it uses that value. It adds some other things in there too, but it literally adds them. They have equal weight contribution. So bows and quivers are supposed to, let's assume everything's working.
Okay.
And if you look at that code, you would assume that works, which is
I
literally
wouldn't.
that plus that
I'm
plus
not-
that plus that.
They don't even let me look at code anymore, right? Much less touch it. So yeah, I'm not allowed in the room when the open heart surgery is happening.
Yes. So A plus B plus C plus D equals
You would
whatever.
assume that would work.
You would assume that would work.
All right.
So yes, I've looked at it several times. I looked at it with an engineer, and we are certain that it's adding those values and increasing your damage.
Okay.
So I just wanted to put that one out there because that one comes up a lot, and it's like, why won't you fix this? And I'm like, because it's not broken.
All right. So I think we should shift back over to any other live questions because we only got a few minutes left, right?
Okay, so one question is, are majors going to be dropped from thralls, or is the main component of majors being dropped from thralls?
When the thralls go in, the idea is it will be a crafting component. It will be the soul gem of that type of thing.
Yeah, so I think, yes, the thrall will be the primary component. You'll need
Yeah.
other components as well. And that's not the only thing that the thrall soul gems will be used for. They'll have other uses as well.
Right.
That's it's one of the major pieces, actually. It's kind of, we're the good news is we're narrowing down on these kind of major things
Right.
that we talked about years ago and getting them into the game. Thralls is now one of them. And we have a lot of the pieces that I wanted. Like, for example, I wanted the idea that thralls are ghost and therefore they only show up at night.
Right.
Well, we can kind of do that now because our
actually
hunger creatures only show up at night. They can spawn at night, and then if the sunlight comes and hits them, they despawn. So we can use that code again. So, I do think that that's it's still definitely on the list. It's something we want to get. We don't have the ghostly shader for thralls yet.
Correct.
And so I think that'll be kind of goofy looking. You need to get that in. Otherwise, it'll just like. There's Bob. He's walking around. How he disappeared. That'll be kind of.
And we're also missing the random spawners, but that's one of the things we're going to get as well.
We need to get that as well because I don't want you sitting and camping. The ghost comes right here.
He always spawns at
every
this spot.
7 minutes. Yeah, that's kind of goofy. I want these things to be a little bit more ephemeral.
But we are much closer.
Yeah, we are. We've got most of the pieces. And then I also I would rather these particular mobs, I would like them when they drop loot. I would like to drop the loot as dubers because I don't want to drop a mob ghost corpse to the ground. I think that will be incredibly stupid. So.
And that engineering has assured me that is
doesn't
within
seem,
reach.
Doesn't seem that hard to me. Of course, nothing seems that hard to me. I always like, that seems really easy. Why would that take more than 2 days? They're like, that is 6 months worth of work. I was like, get to work. You got 2 days.
So there was a question that they want asked about CC being useless. Unless you
Who's
can...
CC?
You can
Crowd
break
control.
it, yeah. You can break it if you run out of all your CC. You have mechanics that give you CC immunity. So they're saying CC feels useless. How do you feel about that?
It's not just that, hey, Blair, we think there's a balance problem over here you might want to look at. It's useless. It is absolutely a waste. You should never have done it.
We should just pull it out.
You should pull it out of the game. It is absolutely useless.
Okay, so crowd control is always a contentious issue because it sucks to be crowd control.
And because it is kind of useless in our game.
It just sucks. In every game you play to be crowd control, as the dude being crowd control.
Yeah, no, that's true.
It's fun for me to stun Todd and just beat the hell out of him.
Anything that locks me out of gameplay is really, really obnoxious.
Right, so what we do is...
we do have some of those, and they are pretty obnoxious.
But we give you a way to say, hey, this you can use a retaliate to get out of it.
Yeah.
And when you run out of retaliate juice, more or less, you can't retaliate anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And then we also have some crowd control immunity in there, just in case that you have just been crowd controlled to death. Because we don't want people going, you know what? I got stunned and I couldn't use any of my powers and I just sat there and died.
Actually, so I'll say in every game that includes stun, at some point somebody figures out a way to chain stun something to where it never gets to respond, and they can basically kill anything in the game that way. That's happened. I remember even in Wizard, right, turn-based combat, they were like, oh, we put in a stun. I was like, it's going to screw us. It's going to screw us. I'm just letting you know, every game you put a stun in, somebody figures out a way to chain it to where the other person can never, and I'll be damned, like a month or two later, somebody figured out a way. And they specifically put in counters to try and keep that from happening. Nope, they were killing the hardest stuff in the game
with stuns.
Just by stunning it and into submission. So, yes.
Yes, stuns are contentious. And in an action combat game, we don't want you to be stunned. We want you to actually be able to react to it.
Okay.
Right, so if somebody stuns you, we give you a way to get out of it.
Okay.
You
Do
manage
you think that we are giving away too many ways to get out of it, or too much immunity?
We might be giving too many ways, but that's always a
worth
tweak.
Looking at, right?
Yeah, we have some specific talents in the talent trees that in fact enable certain specs to actually get out of it easier.
Okay.
And if a lot of people are playing those specs, it's going to seem like CC. The specs that do center on stuns are a little less useful.
Okay.
So I could see that. But yeah, it's rough because there's no real good clear-cut answer to having stuns and having counters to them.
Okay.
And it's a balance line. So
take a look at it. What else you
All
got,
right.
Cece?
The next one I had is I have a question about, will disciplines be permanent on vessels, or will we be able to remove them in the future?
Okay, so we touched on that earlier, but I guess we can go ahead and talk about it just to make it very, very clear. So the current plan is that minors and exploration ones are hot swappable, but majors are a decision that you make for this vessel, and once you make it, you've made it.
correct.
Right?
So you are literally building the Knight Juggernaut
Right.
spec, and that's the way you're going, and it's stuck in there.
Yep.
And if you want a new one, gotta go make a new Knight.
Yeah. But on the good side, that's not a horribly, arduous process.
Which is why we made leveling much faster.
we made it super, super faster, and we added sacrifice so that once you've already been through it, you can kind of twink yourself back up just by dumping stuff into a wood chipper and getting levels out of it.
Yes.
So.
Love the wood chipper.
Yeah. So I think part of the thought we had on that was that that people won't be doing that with high quality vessels. People will be doing rolling with low quality vessels to try. It's basically try it before you buy, right?
Correct.
So the idea is it's super, super fast to just churn through whites. So because we're trying to make a giant exploration tree of different character builds, because that's replayability. If I'm looking for like what's my
Right.
perfect min-maxed version of an elven archer, right? I can min-max it and try and roll and roll and roll a bunch if I want to. If I don't, because I don't care about squeezing that last 0.001%, I don't have to. But a lot of
Right.
people do, and if they do, they can do it really, really, really fast on a white to get the template that they want, and then they can say, okay, this is worth a little bit more investment. And I think it's a reasonable approach.
I do as well.
I mean, a lot of it was Shadowbane derived, right? We saw a lot of Shadowbane players. That's what they would do is they would go through and they would create new characters, level them up, just to try out that build,
Yep.
and then
It's Shadowbane, it's Diablo 2. I mean, that was
Yeah.
the thing in those days, was you just made lots of characters.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have an idea for a fun character. It may not work at all,
But I want to try it.
But I want to try it.
And what's cool about that is occasionally you find interesting new combinations that other people haven't tried, and they work really, really well. And that's the big payoff,
Right.
right? Is when you actually find ones like, wow, that's a really unique. I actually, so going back to my D&D gaming, in 5th edition, I made a Eladrin Gloomstalker sorcerer. Totally a bizarre, weird build. He's amazing. He's like completely overpowered. But that was really cool. That was great for me
Right.
because it basically, it allows you to do the meta game of I'm playing this game even when I'm not playing it,
Right, because you're thinking about it when you're not
Oh,
playing.
yeah, I'm digging around on D&D Beyond, and I'm checking out different things. Ooh, that feat would go really, really well. I probably should get that at about 8th
Right.
level. I mean, I find that really fun. So hopefully you guys will too. And if not, then just make a character and don't worry about
And
that
just
last
level once and just-
0.0001% of power. So
All right.
there you go.
A next question is, what about sacrifice shards? XP values seem to be low.
No, actually, I think we need to probably take a balance pass over sacrifice values is probably due. I think some of that stuff was originally just kind of placed in there. Like gold is still in there on a
Yeah, you can
one-for-one
still- you can
basis.
still sacrifice gold.
So we do know that we need. I mean, you can tell that the sacrifice system is a Rev 1 because you open the UI and there's a picture of Malachi there, and clearly that was not the intention. So we
So
need
in
to go
Sacrifice
back to
V2,
sacrifice.
we've got, and we have the extra XP types for harvesting,
Right,
for crafting.
yeah, we've got that coming too.
Right,
That's right.
so-
The experience, the GD is titled Grant Experience for All the Things,
Right.
or something like that. Yeah.
So we didn't want to make a pass now, like a serious pass,
Yeah.
because right around the corner here comes Sacrifice V2.
Okay. Yep.
So there you
you go. But yes, we do know that's an area we need to get back to.
Okay.
Wow, that was a very. She was not buying what we were selling just then. You see that?
She's like, whatever.
all right,
All right.
if you say so, Todd. Whatevs. So, all right, Cece.
All right. I think we got some of the CC issue resolved,
Okay.
but there's definitely a lot there.
Maybe we should just call you Cece then. That's your new nickname. So, Blair loves the Seinfeld references, by the way.
I do, in
Seinfeld
fact.
and Simpson references from like 12 years ago. I can always get a laugh out of him, and everybody else just looks at me like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But Blair gets the reference every single time.
Well, if you look at the goggles that Michael put up earlier,
Mm-hmm.
the lore text on there is the goggles do everything, which is
I don't know that one.
that's a Simpsons one. The goggles do nothing when Radioactive Man is they're like pouring goo on him, and all he like this sea of goo is coming, and he just puts these little goggles on. He's like, the goggles, my eyes,
I
they
hadn't
do
seen that.
nothing.
I don't remember that, but that's hilarious.
Anyway,
It's a good
that's
one.
I've tweaked that text a little bit on the goggles for the necromancy parts.
Okay.
And then the name of the guy who's quoting it is Avrit something or other. It sounds like a fantasy name. It's an anagram.
I just thought of something that I want to talk about a little bit. It didn't come up as a question, but it probably should have, and that is EK. So we have been very, very, very focused on campaign worlds for about the last 6 months, right? Like
Okay.
5.8, 5.9. Like we've been really pouring into campaign worlds, all of our effort, and it's because I hit a point where I was like, this game's taking longer than I would like. The campaign is the kind of the heart of everything that we do. If we
Right.
don't get that right, there's not really a game. We need to put all of our wood behind that arrow. See, there you go.
Yeah.
Analogy. We need to keep all those sharks in that pool to make sure that we actually get this right. And then we added God's Reach, and so I've got players now, some players who are like, you just totally screwed EKs and you don't care at all. That is not the case. I absolutely do care about EKs. I think they are still incredibly important. They just have fallen down the list in priority behind all the other stuff that we know we needed to get to, like the client controller just wasn't where it needed to be, and server performance wasn't where it needed to be, and the lighting was kind of and we needed to get that. So I had all this other stuff that I needed to get done. We will get back to EKs. I still want EKs to be vibrant, cool, social areas that actually have gameplay to them too, not just a housing instance.
Right.
I have lots of things I'd like to do to allow players to invest in their EKs to make them playable. In an ideal world, I would like to make them as playable as a God's Reach. Right? The only thing is, I don't want it to be for free. I want to make sure, for example, if I want to put an area that I can go and I can harvest greens, right? I want to harvest green stone. I don't mind them doing the EK if they had to actually bring some kind of seed back from the campaign world and plant it, and it lasts for a limited time. That would be totally fine because it doesn't break the loop. What I don't want is people just doing nothing but sitting in their EK, or worse, botting in their EK, and have that crush our economy. So I haven't forgotten about the EKs. I've just deprioritized them. It was, as Gordon says, with malice and forethought. I wasn't trying to be a jerk or anything like that. It's just, ultimately we have to make choices, and I was worried that if we continued to bake the game on all of these tracks at once, we might hit a point where we have 80% of
each of them.
3 or 4 playable games, and we don't have 100% of any of them. And that seemed like to me stinking thinking. So I was going to go back and try and fill out the one, start with the campaign worlds and get it a lot more playable. And then I wanted to get the new player experience, because if we don't have that, we're in real trouble. And then that means now the EKs is going to be the next.
Yep.
So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I haven't talked about it either, and that's probably a mistake. I should be more clear when I put something to the side. It doesn't mean that it got thrown in the trash. It just means that it got put to the side for a moment because we have other priorities that are more pressing.
Yeah, I was wondering where you came up with that EK. Just like out of left field.
Yeah,
let's talk about EK.
No,
it's been asked about.
It's been asked. It's been
come
asked
up.
specifically, and I've had it come up a couple times now, and I know that Onrose is going to bring it up with me as well, and I want to be able to say, dude, I already answered that question.
Go watch the video.
Just watch the video. Leave me alone. No, I'm just kidding. All right, what else we got? Anything else? Because we're running short on time, I think.
There was a question about would we ever move away from siege timers to a lattice type system or do something different?
So would we ever, with infinite time, if we actually can get this game out and actually get it self-sustaining, the whole point of our game was experimentation.
Right.
So I'm all about that. That said, the next step we're going to do is not moving away from it. It's actually making that system deeper so that it actually works. So we're moving the forts and the keeps both to be on rotating windows,
right,
so that you have different windows firing all the time, and the number of open windows is designed to match normal player curves, like player peak population curves. That's something that doesn't change that much from one game to the next. It's kind of just a set way these games work. Usually your peak number concurrency is about 8 times or so your trough. So during peak concurrency, I want 8 times the number of forts and keeps available, and during the trough, I want 1/8 of that number available. And that's so that we can force conflict to happen at the same spots, right? So that we can actually make sure that you have good fights. The problem I had with the night flipping was just it was uncontested, and ultimately that's not what we want. The other piece of that, though, is we do need additional vectors for point generation that aren't simply about capture, because if you look at all of the board games are a great example of this, right? All the board games that you play that are about amassing points, you have additional at the end of the game. Right. They also then hand out bonus points for who had the longest road, or who had the most capital cities, or who had the biggest standing army. So you have other point mechanics. That way at the end, it's not as simple as, well, Blair had most of the points, so he won. So we need to get those other vectors in, and that's just another thing we have.
Well, I think the interesting thing we did with siege windows was because we wanted to prevent one team from dominating the entire map if they had like a sign-up mechanic.
Right.
Which is literally, we can take our entire force whenever we sign up for it, and we can all assault this siege. Or this town.
Granted, we're still seeing a lot of that, right? We're still seeing a lot of that behavior. One of the things that I find kind of challenging is it's a chicken and the egg situation, though, right now, is we don't have a large mass. We have kind of a recurring set number of peak players who come in, and you guys are awesome. Thank you for helping us test. But it's hard to judge if we were to suddenly have 5 times the number of peak players. that might dramatically change what we're seeing in the test right now.
Right.
The problem is our servers don't support that yet. So until we get these new builds out that allow us to support that number of players, it's kind of a chicken and the egg. So I'm reluctant to make too many dramatic changes, throwing out massive systems that we might have spent 3 or 6 or whatever months building when we haven't actually tested them. So anyway, this is just this is part of what happens when you're inventing new systems. It just takes time. And
I just want to talk about the goal though of if there are 5 keeps and I have a force, I can't defend all 5 equally.
Yeah.
Right. That was the big goal of the siege windows.
And so part of that is also our world clusters are too small right now.
Exactly.
We do not have enough things to fight over. And actually, I asked Edson earlier this week if we could look at adding to them. And he said if the numbers that we're already seeing come out of the next build hold true, absolutely we should be able to add additional locations and stuff like that to make it more than... I mean, I don't like right now that we have a 3-faction game and we have 3. Like, I don't like that even. I think it would be better if we had 4 or if we had 5. Like a non-equal split, I think would be more interesting. So all of that stuff to work on.
Yep.
There's an endless bucket of things to continue to.
It never ends.
So yeah, it never ends. But on the good side, look how far we've come.
Yeah,
there's a lot of game there. So.
I know we only have a few minutes left, but there's some questions about what they're going to see in the next update. Like, what will the character controller fix? Can you give us just a quick overview of what players would expect to see changing?
Not in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so character controller is basically how things move in the game. That's effectively what it means. So it touches everything from, as I'm moving around, how does the game feel? Which it definitely, in my opinion, could feel better. And the new client controller helps that quite a bit.
Yep.
It also smooths things out.
Yep.
So it makes it to when you're watching other people move around, they don't look herky-jerky as bad. It affects how monsters move around in the world. The crow, the feeling of when you're flying around as a crow, that's one of the things I just have not liked for a long time. We just kind of stuck it in. Technically, as you can tell, it's just the player controller, which is why your crow feels like he's stuck to the ground, and you can jump and you go like that, but it's just a little, it's because we didn't have a specific, like, how do you feel when you're flying controller. That's fixed, so it actually now feels like you're flying around the game.
Right.
So it touches, like, so much stuff in the game.
Touches how we do powers.
All the powers,
Like,
right? And how many powers do we have now? Like 1,300?
There's probably 1,300.
Yeah, there's a lot. So so that's why this one is also taking so long to get done, is because it had tendrils that touched kind of everything in the game. So I'm excited about it. I really want to get you guys in to see it. We do have our testing group in testing it right now. But at the same time we're doing that, it's not just that, right? We also have all these other things coming in to that build as well.
Yeah, basically that character controller was the log jam, and all kinds of other engineering efforts were kind of piled up behind it.
Yeah.
So there's things that I've forgotten about. I was like, oh yeah, that's in 592.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's another one. It's another big one. We seem to basically be on a big momentous things kind of hit about every 4 months, 3 to 4 months.
Right.
It seems like.
Which was the pattern we had before, but we didn't have the live team.
Right.
So with the there's a group, mainly the designers are on the live team.
Yeah.
And we're making these tweaks every 2 to 3 weeks.
Right.
That's how we get new campaign modes, and that's like all of these new things.
And War Tribes, that's a great example.
So it feels like you're
right?
getting something new every couple of weeks, while these big giant efforts are coming in at our old milestone cadence pace.
Yeah, which is not uncommon for an MMO. It's just uncommon for an MMO that's in development.
Right.
It's usually after you've launched
There's no live
that
team.
you have a development and a live team. But
Right.
and historically we've kind of been, we didn't have them separated, so everybody was kind of on both. But I think that's working out better for us now, is that we have a couple people that are like, no, don't give them tasks. They just deal with live issues.
Right.
And over here we have everybody else. Go, run, get this.
And that's the team that's also responds to the current hot topic player issues too, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we're able to pivot very quickly in the live team.
To when we can. Unfortunately, that also means there are times when there are things they can't do, like increase my stat counts. What can you do? So, all right, I think that's about it for this time. Yes?
Oh, let's talk about subscribing to our YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook channels.
Yes, thank you very much. If this is your first time seeing the show and you managed to last this long, I am J. Todd Coleman. This is Thomas Blair, and this is Cece, our marketing VP. And you should visit crowfall.com and register for an account so that you can get cool emails from us. And we promise not to not to let Cece oversell you.
You should get her the jersey that says CC on
Yeah.
it, just like the episode
That is a
where it
good
said
idea.
Coke. Oh no, it said ooh ooh. Remember George's number? He was.
So again, see, Seinfeld reference.
I got it earlier. I just wanted to make sure you knew that I got it.
Okay,
It was,
all right.
all right.
I'll just call you T-Bone then. All right. I think that's it for this time.
That is it, and we will.
This month.
We'll.
Thank you guys for the questions. We had some really good questions this time. Thank you for, as always, sitting through as Blair goes on and on and on with his boring stuff before letting me get back to the lore, which I know is really why you tune in. And I guess we will get back to working on the game, collecting
back to working.
questions, and we will see you guys in about a month, right?
Yep, 1 month.
All right. That's it. Thanks, guys.